My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. In a previous video I used radish seeds to prove an experiment. These are the radish seeds that at the time hadn't germinated, but here they are germinating very well. In this video I'm going to prove to you that summer colour starts in April. Here we go. Come June, people come by my garden and say, wow, it looks so colourful, and what's your secret and how do you do it? Well, this is how I do it. I get out there in late March, early April, and I go and see what's alive, what's growing. This is a very attractive clematis. It's been out for a few years. It's called Rooguchi, and I'm trying to find it to see that it's intact, that it came through the winter, because these are the flowers that it's going to have when it comes to the summertime. So by going out there now and uncovering these plants, finding out if they're alive, putting a stake there so that you know where it is, it will get you gardening, get you cleaning up your garden, and help you know what's alive and what's dead. These buds are very, very tender. It would be easy to have a landscape contractor come into the garden, clean it up, knock all those buds off, drag the plant out of the ground, and you're back to square one again. So take some time right now and go outside and uncover a number of your more choice plants so that you know where they are, and you can put a stake right by them. Now, we talked about dormant plants in the previous video and how to wake them up. Those were all greenhouse based, and they've all gone back into the greenhouse. But this is another plant that I relocated. It's the golden hop. And I'm trying to do something I think rather clever here. Wisterias are great, but their flowering is quite a short window of time. So I moved the hop here, and this is going to then be trained up through the branches of the wisteria. Now it'll be either a roaring success or it'll be abysmal failure. But here you can see the shoots. They're the little red burgundy coloured shoots, and in a few weeks they'll be 2 foot high and growing very fast. Little update on some figs. This is the Olympia fig. It went through the winter completely unprotected. I just left it to face the cold weather that we get here. And I want to show you how we've got some brown stems that have died back, and those are the thinner stems, these little side branches. And the thicker stems that have come through the winter are grey. The grey will put out more shoots this year, and the brown is the dieback. This is completely normal. All you have to do is trace the grey where you get that transition to brown, and that brown is what will be trimmed. I'll wait for it to sprout before I prune it, but this is no big deal. This is an area next to a sidewalk, and it's very shallow, it's very poor soil. I've grown a few things in here, I've had some things in pots, but last year we planted some mint. Now I would recommend that nobody ever grows mint, because it really will take off. It has underground stems that root prolifically, and if you take out the plant that you planted, you leave a fragment of root behind, and it will absolutely regenerate, and mint will take over. But in this situation it's perfect. It can grow out onto the sidewalk, and as people walk over it, it'll crush the stems, which is essentially a form of pruning, and release its fragrance. And here you can see that the stems that were established last year have all now rooted through, and this plant is set for, I hope, a rather good display. But it's an example of the right plant in the right place. If you've got a big open garden, you've no business planting mint in it because it will take over. If you've got a constricted area, it's the perfect plant because it can't get away from you. Last year I dug up a lily and didn't have anywhere to put it, so I stuck it in a pot, put it in the greenhouse, and it came through the winter. And this particular lily is big flowered. It's got pink tones to it, and you can just see there that the little bud is starting to form, and I need to get that in the ground immediately. Every day that plant stays out of the ground will be to its detriment. But the reason I saved it is I wanted to show you the size of the bulb that is underneath these lilies. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could propagate from that. You could break off the scales, set them in sand, give it some heat, and they'd all root. And in a few years' time you'd have a substantial crop of lilies. But I'm going to leave this intact, and I just wanted to show you what happens to that plant. Because it had a warmer environment, it's a little bit further ahead. Now this stem here, this is a lily from last year. But around it, I put leaves, and I sweep up lots of sycamore leaves and seedlings and seeds. And you can see one here germinating. This is an example of weed seed doing what they do. They get the right environment, they get the right temperature, and off they go. So yet again, I want to impress upon you the need to get out there and start the jobs now that you can do now, so that when we get to warmer conditions, you've got a big bulk of the work already done, and you're not fighting it. There's few plants that give a more tropical look than the hardy banana. This is Musa Bajju. I've done videos on this in the past. This has successfully gone through the winter. Some people will put a cover over it, others will put leaves. It's important that you don't wrap it too tight because it can rot. But it's at this time of year, we are in late March, early April, that I uncover it and I'll prune back the dead growth from last year, and I'm trying to find out where the new shoots will coming from. But really you want to let this dry out and let some heat get in there. Don't leave it covered because you'll be preventing the plant from growing. So that's a 5-minute cleanup. Now finally, I want to go back to the dahlias that were planted up only a short time ago, and they're starting to sprout. This is the magic of gardening. Doing the right thing at the right time takes just a few minutes. Trying to catch up when you're behind takes a lot more time and a lot more money. Now, never ever do what I just did then, because you will go in there and you will break these little tiny stems that I'm just uncovering. So that's the magic of spring gardening, getting out there, seeing what's alive, getting it in play now so that come June you've got that color that you want. Thank you so much for watching. Tell your friends, tell your family, go plant something.